published it right before COVID, maybe like 2019, something like that.
Might even be earlier than that.
What's that earlier?
18.
Okay. 4 years, I guess. I don't know. I still think 2000 was not long ago. So, of course, that'd be my son's entire life. He was born in 2000. You know, you stop at some point in time and you don't go past that. Oops. That was live, huh?
It's been live, yeah. When I said, yeah, hey, we're going live. That was when we went live.
Oh, whoops.
It's okay. Nothing too incriminating yet. All right, here we go. Good morning, open arms. Freaked you out, huh?
Yeah, you think your thing is a little high today.
It is a little loud, but then when I do something like that, it gets super loud. But then when you talk normal, you got to get closer. And, yeah, so I do a little bit of this if I know I'm going to be loud, but I tried to back away. Sorry for the intensity there, but hey, y'all, Pastor Emil here with Scott. Another episode of Sweet Jesus. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is sweeter, but it's a little early for ice cream, although I think I could do ice cream around 11:30. Wouldn't be too terrible.
Yeah.
8:30 is too early.
Yeah.
But I've got black and green tea blend. It's actually pretty tasty, especially when you load it up with like 3 tablespoons of honey. So get yourself some coffee with sweetener, or if you think that coffee is somehow deliciously sweet without anything added, good for you. Pull up a chair, listen in. We are going through this last chapter here, Rule 12 for Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. And it's like many of his chapters, he kind of bounces around a lot, and it doesn't always appear obvious what he's getting at. But I think that it sort of brings together a lot of the ideas. It's a little bit strange. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. I generally don't go up to animals that I don't know. But he's got
That's very difficult, actually. If you run it, cats don't usually.
and cats don't. Yeah.
So I guess if there's one that's willing to let you pet it.
Yeah. So that's his. I think he kind of makes the case. Well, yeah. I guess we could just talk about it, that cats, if they do allow you to do that, they've made a choice. He's kind of like, well, dogs are dumb and and they're tamed, right? Like we have tamed dogs. That's basically why dogs are friendly. But cats, they don't listen to anybody. I think it was in a fortune cookie one time I got. It said, dogs have owners, cats have staff. So. And I'll never forget, Tim Keller, I guess, had a couple of cats maybe, or a cat at least. And one morning, Sunday morning, he's getting ready for church, like 6 a.m. or something, and there's this enormous thud sound in his apartment or wherever he is, New York. And he goes into the kitchen, looking, what the heck happened? And his cat is perched up on top of the refrigerator or wherever the cat food was, looking down like, you idiot, don't you know it's time to feed me? And he knocked the box or whatever it was of food down off of the refrigerator or wherever it was perched into their food bowl.
Nice.
Like just, hello, idiot. Don't you? But so they do have this attitude. They're not really tamed. And so he says that cats have essentially made this assessment that humans are good. That's kind of what he's saying. And that's kind of the point of the chapter. But it's not obvious right away. Right? I think you had said you had struggled quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was an interesting read, but how did you how do you tie it back to what, the theme or whatever? So that was what was difficult.
What was interesting about it to you?
What was interesting about it to me? Well, he goes into his daughter's illness and, some just about human existence and how it is not easy, I guess. And for some people, it's really not easy. It's really hard. So,
yeah, it's more than not easy.
Yeah,
life sucks.
Yeah, basically,
that's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah, he basically says that. He says, he said in other podcasts or things I've listened to that said, if your life is good at at this moment, enjoy it, because eventually, at some point, hopefully later than sooner, but something's gonna happen in your life that's not gonna be fun to deal with. So
yeah.
Is this the chapter where he calculated how many more times he was going to get to see his parents? Or was that in the code? Maybe that was in the code. But anyway, I don't want to. I don't want to take you off.
Well, but it's relevant, right? I mean, there are people in your life that you only get to see a certain number of times, and so you should enjoy it. I forget if that's in this chapter or not. It doesn't ring a bell. It's not sounding.
It might have been even something else I listened to that he had. But yeah, he had basically his, at the time that he was speaking, his parents were, he was of a certain age and his parents were of a certain age. And if you look at life expectancy and then the number of times a year he actually got to see his parents,
mm-hmm.
I think at the time he said, if I keep doing it the way I'm doing it, I might see them 10 more times in my life, And it's just like when that dawned on him, it, made him realize he needed to see his parents more. And then when he did see his parents, get the most out of it.
Yeah. Focus, don't, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get caught up in just life. And so life really sucks. That's kind of the point here. He tells a number of different stories, primarily focused a lot on his own daughter and her struggles. And here she is, just a kid having these major issues with her bones and her body and surgeries and a variety of treatments and ending up in like a rehab facility for old people. She's this young kid in a place with all these old people, and then just the nightmare of being like stuck in a room with a terrible old woman who has to have the door open and has to have the lights on all the time, and she's supposed to be there to get rest. And it was so bad they got her out in like a couple of days instead of a couple of months it was supposed to be, or something like that.
Yeah. Really, the daughter decided basically, I'm out of here. We're going to get this, whatever I got to do, rehab wise or whatever, to prove that I'm out of here.
Yeah.
She became very determined and was out in 3 days, I think. So,
yeah. But that whole thing, I mean, it's a lengthy story, and it has disappointment on top of disappointment on top of disappointment, setbacks. You think you're heading in the right direction, and then you're not. But also good moments like, oh, wow, it was really that simple. Like they gave up on one doctor at some point and found somebody else that they went to, and just was like, oh, here's what. And he literally like did it in the office, and her pain was gone, or it was back to tolerable sort of thing, something like that.
Right.
I don't want to give away the whole story, but yeah, it is all. There were some good moments in there too, but the good moments were only because it made it suck less.
Right.
Like
Right.
it still sucked a lot. The whole thing. And so we would be tempted, and he's talked about this in other ways in some of these other chapters, but not as directly as he does here, that there's this tendency for people to look at life, to see how terrible it is, and to just say that there shouldn't be life, or that it's not just not worth living, but it's like Thanos.
Mhm.
I'd like, you know what? There's so much suffering. Like I'm just gonna wipe out, and then we actually Hope is going through one of our kids. She's getting a chance to go through all the Marvel movies, and we're at Endgame now.
Oh wow.
So Infinity War is all about Thanos wanting to snap his fingers and eliminate half of the universe's population because there's so much suffering and all this fighting over resources. And if we could just get rid of half, everyone would thrive and it would be wonderful and blah, 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 blah. And spoiler alert, if you haven't watched these movies,
Doesn't work.
he does the thing with the Infinity Stones. He snaps his fingers, half people are gone, and it doesn't work. It's not like people are magically, But then Endgame is like they're trying to fix this. They're trying to go back and time travel and all this stuff to bring people back and end Thanos, right? But Thanos is still there right now, and he's like, you know what? We're just going to get rid of everybody because you all suck. Right? Look at you. I did this favor for you.
Right.
Because life is so hard, and you just wanted what you had. You couldn't see the gift that was given to you.
It's kind of hard when you're gone.
Yeah, it's really sick and twisted.
Yeah.
When you see it, and there's a lot. He's not just an imaginary figure, Thanos. I mean, that spirit is alive in our world. And I think that's the point that Jordan Peterson's making. But then he says, okay, forget half. I'm just going to get rid of everybody. I'm going to start over. They're not going to know. I'll just create people that adore me for doing this for them, basically. It's a big deal. People really, and even if you never have the power of a Thanos to actually carry this out, there are people that walk around wishing that, that life is so hard that we should just end it. We should just end it for everybody, and they inflict as much pain and all that kind of stuff.
And my concept is, well, if it is, then you first.
Mm-hmm. You first. Go for it.
Which not really, because you don't want somebody to commit suicide, or whatever.
Yeah, but don't take it out on me.
Right.
That's what Thanos is doing, right?
Right.
Thanos is saying life sucks, so I'm going to kill everyone else, but I'll be the god that creates the next generation of beings for yeah, you first, Thanos. If it's so terrible, you first.
Yeah.
So page 346, I highlighted a few things here, 346, 347. Hating life, despising life, even for the genuine pain that life inflicts, merely serves to make life itself worse, unbearably worse. Right? So if you just cultivate this hatred and this resentment and bitterness, it just makes it worse. There is no genuine protest in that. There is no goodness in that. Only the desire to produce suffering for the sake of suffering. That is the very essence of evil. People who come to that kind of thinking are one step from total mayhem. Sometimes they merely lack the tools. Sometimes, like Stalin, they have their finger on the nuclear button.
Yeah, it's always better to have lazy and nihilists.
Lazy nihilists. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, if I ever get around to that, this is what I would do.
Yeah, we'll take as many of those as you want. I'm not going to hang out with them, but
right.
They can hang out at the bar. They can whatever they want to do and share their, depressing thoughts on existence and humanity and all that kind of thing. But he said there's no genuine protest in that. You're not actually protesting the awfulness if you just make it more awful. You're siding with it. You're joining Team Thanos.
Right.
Which there were plenty of willing participants on Thanos' team. He had plenty of people helping him out.
Well, I'm sure they all thought they were going to be the half that got saved. They didn't show his staff disappearing. I don't know. I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. That'd be interesting. Maybe they don't really address it.
Or maybe I wasn't paying attention close enough to that to see. Maybe they do.
You have to go back to that moment. Or somebody can check on Google or ask ChatGPT or Grok or something and tell us.
But yeah, I guess some atheists use that as their belief for no God, right? So why, if there's a God, why would, who was I think he just passed recently, but anyway, he said, why would God create a world where there's apparently this bug fly or something that's in a third world area, that it's so, apparently, I can't believe it's its sole purpose, but one of its purposes or one of its ways of keeping itself going is it will do something to people's eyes. I don't know if it puts eggs in it or whatever, and it causes blindness. So why would God create a world where you have a bug in it that would do that to? And you mentioned children, right? Because that makes it even more hard to deal with,
because
right?
Children are innocent. I think we've already established that children are evil, right? Didn't I already go through that?
Yeah.
Pissed everybody off?
Yes. Yeah, we don't want to do that again.
Let's not do that again. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so, basically, why would I believe in if it's going to be, if everything's so terrible like it is, there couldn't be a benevolent God that created it all. So that was one of the arguments, that this particular guy used. Or cancer, childhood cancer, or any of that.
It's such a lame, tired excuse. It really is. And it completely misunderstands the Bible. And it misunderstands historic Christian theology. And it's just, and it is part of, it's very common, actually, Christians, they talk pretty sloppily about their faith.
Be precise in your speech.
And I would also say that most American Christian theology isn't all that great.
Sloppy.
It's
sloppy too.
Well, and it's wrong. I think it's actually wrong.
Just wrong.
And that's part of the whole, like kids are evil thing. It's not that, kids are obviously amazing. I love kids. We have 4. If I could, we could have had more, if we could have, not been trying to do this one income and all this other kind of stuff and not started losing our minds and not maybe started as late as we did and all this other kind of stuff, maybe we'd have had more. If I had as much money as the richest man in the world, I might have 12 kids, or however many Elon Musk has got.
You have a better naming scheme than he has, though. So.
Yeah. Everybody's got their quirks. But no, it's just bad theology, and I think Christians say this, they mean well. But like this phrase, God doesn't make junk. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Well, it's something that we say to people who may be born with a disability, some kind of deformity or whatever the case is, right? God doesn't make junk. And it's this idea to affirm the value of every individual person. And I am all about affirming the inherent value in every single human being on the planet. But that phrase gets us, again,
all right,
we're sloppy. Because we're actually saying, what we're saying is, well, God made you and therefore you are perfect just the way you are. But
That's
that's
obvious.
baloney.
That's obvious for none of us.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. We are not obviously worthy of the love that God has put on us. It's that God's love is so amazing and powerful precisely because he shouldn't love us. And he did make us. He originally made us perfect and amazing and wonderful. And no, God didn't make junk. He didn't make junk. And he doesn't make junk now, but we forget that there's this other thing going on, that when we are born, there's something wrong with us. We're not that beautiful, perfect, whatever that God intended from the beginning, nor the beautiful, amazing, glorious creature we will be one day when we see him face to face. We're not that. So one of my kids born with a club foot. Do I say God doesn't make junk and just leave her that way? No. I mean, of course God doesn't make junk. Of course she is immensely loved and wonderful and amazing, and God's going to use her. God can use her. She shouldn't quit ever, 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 right? But we fixed it. We went about trying to straighten it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally you're straightening out a foot. And I use this a lot because I think it's just so obvious. It's so clear when you really think about it and you take it apart. You say, okay, no, she's still wonderful and amazing and all that kind of stuff. But there was something wrong and it had to be addressed. Same is true for me. I was born, I didn't know it until I was in my 20s, that I had a heart defect from birth. But what did I do? Did I say, you know what? God doesn't make junk. I'm just going to ride it out. No, I'm saying, holy crap, something's wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to find the people that can help me fix it and go about whatever I need to do to fix it. So you talk about bugs that do this crazy stuff, and you talk about a world that has earthquakes and tsunamis and tornadoes and hurricanes and floods and all these different things. You don't look at that and say, God, how could you do that? Because God didn't do that. We did that. That's the result of sin. So in the beginning, you got God in the garden with Adam and Eve, right? Everything's wonderful. They sin and basically tell God to take a hike, so he does. Little did they realize that when God does that, when God's not there holding everything together perfectly, because God doesn't make junk, he makes perfect stuff. When he's not there, the way he was at least, everything starts to decay. Everything starts to fall apart. Nothing works the way it's supposed to. It's broken. Something's wrong. And then you have however many years since then. In a sense, I think things have gotten better to a degree. That we do see a lot of improvement. I don't know if that's tied to like the arrival of Christ, his death, his resurrection, his ascension. I think you could make a case for that things have kind of gotten better. But initially, things were just going to hell in a handbasket real fast. So much so that he regretted that he made humans and sent a flood to wipe them all out except for Noah and his family. So things were pretty bad, right? And they didn't really get better for a very long time. They just kept getting worse. So that's the whole, it's a lazy way of trying to deal with the tension of the world being broken, being painful and full of suffering and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got a God who entered into it, who said, I get it. It sucks. I'm coming. Here I am. And he endured the worst, far worse than anything we could even imagine. Not just the nails. I've talked about this before. He's experiencing the ultimate in abandonment, in rejection, in he's experiencing hell on the cross, the total and complete absence of God, the rejection of God, the loss of a relationship that he's had from before time began, loss of a relationship that was closer than any relationship we could even begin to imagine. He endured it. And so when we talk to him and we pray and we cry and we lament and we all do all these things, he gets it. He's not looking down like, whatever, I'm going to send another bug to eat out somebody's eye.
Yikes.
He's not doing that. He's going, I know. And he says, I have a day and I'm coming back. And on that day, I will fully and finally, permanently eradicate all evil and brokenness. And when I do it, because I came the first time, if you trust in me, if you believe what I did for you, if my blood covers your sins, right? Then when I do away with evil, I don't have to do away with you. Because if he was going to do away with evil, if we like what we want, would you just get rid of all this evil and suffering and all this kind of stuff?
Thanos.
Okay. Right?
He'd do the Thanos snap and we'd all be gone.
So Thanos, I guess, isn't entirely wrong. I mean, we are the problem, but we are inherently valuable. We are made in the image of God. We are precious to God to the extent that he's willing to go to the lengths he went to provide a path for us to be in this new glorious creation. And what are those bugs? What were they like before? I mean, can we imagine, like, you think about Jesus going into the tomb dead, right, and coming out alive, the transformation of his body, but also the sameness of his body, right? So his body's transformed in a way that they barely recognize him, but he's alive and he'll never die again. There's no pain or suffering that can be inflicted on him. But they also go, oh, look at my hands and my side. And they, oh my goodness, that's Jesus. That's how they figure it out. There's something the same and yet something completely different. So what about that bug? What about that bug that causes blindness? Is he just going to eradicate it? Or is there something about it that if it's just flipped in the right direction, something transformed about its DNA, about it, whatever it is that God transformed in Jesus on the resurrection, what is it that's going to make it into something glorious where we're going to be like, because that bug is so awful, if we could see it in a way that God originally intended it, that would be one of the most powerful testaments to his glory, right?
All right. Mm-hmm.
Or what about our own wounds, our physical wounds, our internal, emotional, psychological, spiritual wounds? Imagine what we'll be like when those things are somehow repurposed, transformed, cleansed, restored, redeemed, right? What is that going to look like? So that's, I don't really buy that. Life is so terrible. Yeah, well, stop blaming God for it. That's what happened. That's what got us here. Oh, God's trying to make life difficult. He wants to put these limits on us. Take a hike, God. Okay. Everything falls apart. You know, it's like, what's that Einstein quote? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Trying to get rid of God doesn't help.
Right.
And I think we've actually seen that. Western culture needs God, and they've been trying to get rid of him for a long time. So anyway,
Was that way off the base of the chapter, or
no? It wasn't where I thought that we'd be going.
All right.
But
Take over then. I won't suggest anything.
No, it was good. I think it was good. It was good. So since the world is so evil, what's he suggesting, right? He's got a solution for us. Pet a cat when you see one.
Yeah, I took that as when the opportunity, or maybe we already said this, when the opportunity of like that arises, take advantage of it. Like a simple way, I guess, simple explanation. Because you don't often, maybe, you don't often run across a cat that
Yeah.
enjoy your moments when you get them, or I don't know. I'm not doing a good job of, but that's about what I got out of the petting the cat thing.
Yeah. Sort of towards the end, page 353, I had this underlined. He has something about The Simpsons. He likes to watch The Simpsons at 1.5 times regular speed, all the laughs 2/3 the time. If you pay careful attention, even on a bad day, you may be fortunate enough to be confronted with small opportunities of just that sort. Maybe you will see a little girl dancing on the street because she is all dressed up in a ballet costume. Maybe you'll have a particularly good cup of coffee in a cafe that cares about their customers. Maybe you can steal 10 or 20 minutes to do some little ridiculous thing that distracts you or reminds you that you can laugh at the absurdity of existence. Personally, I like to watch a Simpsons episode at 1.5 times regular speed, all the laughs 2/3 of the time. And maybe when you're going for a walk and your head is spinning, a cat will show up, and if you pay attention to it, then you will get a reminder for just 15 seconds that the wonder of being might make up for the ineradicable suffering that accompanies it. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. So that's kind of the last part. And then he's got a PS about, sort of a, hey, here's where things stand with our daughter. Bottom line, things are good for now. Right? So
yeah.
The solution to life, if you're really ticked off about the suffering of life, the solution isn't to team up with evil and just hate life and hate existence. And the solution is to savor the moment, to savor the good things, to take those moments that you can get, because guess what? That's all we got. We got these moments. Mm-hmm. Everything else, right? He tells Adam and Eve, by the sweat of your brow, Adam, that's how you're going to, it's going to be a burden. Everything will be a burden. What work, which should have been a joy, will be hard. Life will be hard in every way. Pain in childbirth, something that should be a joy, now is very hard, very complicated.
And then we've spent how many thousands of years trying to fix that problem by.
Yeah.
The engineers were created, and they built a wheel and a chariot. Okay, we don't have to walk anymore. We can get a horse to pull us, and then it's like, and then you fast forward to today, and we've got appliances that do just about anything, and now they're developing a computer that system that can give you every answer. Yeah. And generate anything you ask for, so it's, we're trying to replace what I guess we could have had if we would have just behaved ourselves.
Maybe.
I don't know if that was the plan from the beginning or.
Yeah.
Because he had created beings, right? And some of those rebelled also.
Other non-human beings, yeah.
Created,
That's Satan. Satan wanted to be God.
And gave him everything and gave him super abilities. And
he rebelled, took a third of the angels with him, and he is behind a lot of this, right? This hatefulness towards existence and being, right? So it's so easy to get caught up in that. I mean, I've actually kind of found myself the last couple of weeks needing a reminder to be like, you know what? Yeah, you don't know what the heck's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what the future holds. Maybe you don't know where you're supposed to be focusing and what you're supposed to be doing right now. But, and I say that in like a broader sense. I mean, like each day I know there are things I should probably be doing, but are they the most important things? We got the churches in general, just kind of, I think in a funk post-COVID, doing a little bit better than immediately after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We got our termite situation. We got this long-term. How do we deal with this long-term? What are we? What should we be doing to put ourselves in a long-term sustainable situation? But you know what? I still got a bunch of kids. I got a wife. I got friends. I got, there's good stuff in life.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. And so Thanksgiving, you had said, I hadn't thought about this. Can you see a connection between, the sermon from Sunday, this idea of petting a cat when you encounter one in the street, this idea of taking the moments, the good moments.
Sure.
I mean, I talked about it on Sunday, right? So
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I guess we've have an official day where we're supposed to sit back and say, hey, this is the good stuff. Spend your time with your friends and your family and thank God. Thanks. Give thanks for the things that you have, that you been blessed with.
Not focusing on what you don't have, not focusing on what you wish was better, but hey, here's what I have. Thank God for that. All right, and what did we talk about this past Sunday was, where is your thanks directed? God, not just, I'm thankful. I'm glad I have this because I know people that don't. It's not like this odd feeling of being glad not to be sharing the misfortune of others. Like, whew.
Glad I'm not them.
Yeah, whoo. That's not Thanksgiving. And then, how long, right? Can we linger in that for longer than the time it takes to clear the table and have dessert or go home and then go Black Friday shopping? Can we be thankful a little bit longer than that?
And you had people willing to give it all up because they feel like they can't get along with their family. So
yeah, it can be complicated.
Yeah, so in my defense, I was in the booth on Sunday, so it's hard to always follow everything in the booth.
That's okay. I wasn't. I mean, I didn't tell you this what I was thinking, but I figured you're a pretty smart guy. You figure it out.
You put a few breadcrumbs in there. Yeah. I got there.
And then the last one was, when? Always be thankful. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. Even in the worst circumstances, there are incredible things to be thankful for. And if we can find, though, at the very least, Jesus. There's a God who understands. There's a God who has a plan to deal with this. And one day it's going to be so good, so amazing, this transformation, this redemption of creation, the restoration of creation, the renewal of creation, the resurrection, like Jesus, transformed, glorious, similar, the same, not the same, right? That's what we're going to see. And somehow it'll all be worth it. Somehow even the worst will be undone in a way that we just can't help but worship God and celebrate. So.
Can't imagine. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
I hear people's renditions, and I keep thinking that's aiming a little low. I think it's higher than that. But hey, everybody's vision of heaven is something.
Yeah. Well, just the idea that, I'll be with my loved ones.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It is, but it's so lame.
Yeah, it doesn't. I said that's not quite.
It's so lame. If that's what you're looking forward to, I don't think you have a clue.
Right.
Not to say that that's not something to look forward to.
Right.
It's just to say that what we think we have in that loved one, that longing, that loss, that missing piece,
Mm-hmm.
isn't really them. It's Jesus. Right? So we sense it in them because we have this closeness with them. And when they're gone, there's so many things that are part of our daily lives that, we sort of lose it, and we're grasping at straws, just, oh, what do I do now? Right? Just this emptiness, this transformation. Thanksgiving and Christmas, these are not necessarily great times for everybody, right? Yes, that is a real thing. And yes, there is the hope of eternity in the presence of Christ with those who have gone before us. But really, seeing Jesus I don't even know how long we'll be like thinking about whether or not we're seeing this person first or not. Like, I think we'll see Jesus, and then everything else will just kind of be like a distant second on list of incredible things that happen, right?
Well, maybe we get that concept because that's what Jesus felt when he was on, like you said, he was on the cross and he had that separation from his Father. Then so he's like, I want that connection back with my my parents. So that's our attempt to.
It's not bad.
Our built-in internal. We're just imitating and don't even realize. Maybe
it's not
bad. We had that loss, and now it's not bad. But it's going to be more. It's going to be something more than.
It's just an indication that we don't get it.
Right.
That really, again, the story of the Bible, right? God, creation, fall. So God and humanity, right? The flaming sword blocking the entrance to the tree of life. I view that as sort of this cosmic, like, dropping of a curtain between heaven and earth. These two realms, not a floaty place, but a different dimension, right? So that's the flaming sword, is the separation now from God. God doesn't fully exist in the realm that we are in. He's in another realm, and because of that, that's where everything kind of fell apart. And that's what this longing is in for us. This is why we're constantly working ourselves to death. This is why we constantly feel like we're not enough. This is why we constantly, like, our bodies are falling apart. So many things. It all goes back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have access now to God through Jesus Christ, and so we can experience a greater fullness than we could before. But
even then, it's still just glimpses.
It's still glimpses of what will be,
yeah.
right? So, and when we see him, in 1 John 3, it talks about how that's going to purify us. Like, just seeing him is going to do something to us. We don't know what we're going to be when we see him, but we know that we'll be like him because we will see him as he is. Anyone who thus hopes in him purifies himself as he is pure. That's 1 John 3. And so just the sight of him is going to do something in us.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. He will satisfy us finally. That's the, so the purification, I think that those go hand in hand. That the emptiness is going to be filled, right? It's an infinite emptiness that can only be filled by the infinite. And we have access to it now, to him now. But holy cow, just like the presence of Christ is going to do something that it's going to be great to see people, but holy cow, I think that is right. And when you look at Revelation 21, when we talk about the new Jerusalem coming down out of heaven as a bride adorned for her husband, and then there's this announcement, right? The dwelling place of God will be with man. And then it says there will be no more weeping, no more crying, no more pain, no more death. God comes down, dwelling places with us, we're together again, no more pain, suffering, and death. He himself is the solution. His presence. But anyway.
Yeah, I think that's what's hard to get through, because what our lives are now every day, wake up, oh, my back hurts, something, stretch, get up, oh, now I'm hungry, whatever, it's just like every day is not to make it sound too bad, but we do things every day to just get through the day, and we won't have to do that anymore. So that's hard to contemplate. So we reach as far as we can, I think, in our understanding. Like, yeah.
Well, but this is, I tried to think of scripture passages for this, like petting a cat I don't think there's one that says that. But I do think that there are glimpses of this in his command to rejoice, his command to give thanks, right? Rejoice in the Lord always. I say again, rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. Right? That's how one translation puts it. Let rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. This is Philippians 4:4 and following. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving. There it is again. Let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. A command to rejoice, to embrace the goodness of life in the present, but also the promise of the future. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Psalm 136, just this entire list of things to be thankful for. There's some stuff in Ecclesiastes, but, it's always like kind of a bittersweet, double-edged sword, because really he's just miserable. But there is the encouragement, hey, you know what? Life is hard. Just enjoy the little things. That is kind of, I think, a message in there that relates to it, and I just lost a couple of places for things, so maybe this is not going to go well. Rejoice. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. God made this day, and since God made this day, rejoice and be glad in it. Don't be cranky about it. Yeah, the aches, the pains, but you know what? Get over it.
Don't be nihilistic about it.
Yeah, don't be nihilistic about it. Exactly. Psalm 103, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy, who satisfies you with good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles, right? So I don't know if we talk about this enough in Lutheran circles, and probably a lot of others, but this idea that praising God, even when you don't want to, praising God, worshiping, giving thanks, no matter how you feel, actually helps you feel better. It's like exercise. You want to feel better? You feel miserable? Exercise. Move. Do something.
Right.
That this is the spiritual exercise.
They said that's one of the issues that we have nowadays with people or young people, is that we teach them to dwell on their problems,
and
that's really not the solution.
You gotta examine it. I mean, Jordan Peterson, the Bible, we've talked about how you got to look at it.
Right.
The bronze serpent,
but not constantly. Yeah,
for a reason, for a purpose, for a time. Philippians 4, after that whole rejoice in the Lord thing, and peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Right after that, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So I think that kind of helps sum up what we got here. But I got a piano lesson to get to here. Well, I don't have to. I mean, I have to get someone to a piano lesson. These aren't.
And be thankful for it.
And be thankful that I have this opportunity to rush around like a chicken with my head cut off because I have children, right? Like, what about one day when I don't have anyone to drive around and chauffeur and, yeah.
Maybe she'll be playing. You'll be able to go listen to her play piano at the Philharmonic somewhere in some large city or wherever. Maybe not even a large city, just wherever it is.
Yeah. One can only hope.
You got one playing guitar now, and then you got the other two occasionally make a drum appearance, so that's pretty good. Now we got one we can get to play the piano, too.
Yeah, well, the only problem is now somebody wants a drum kit for Christmas, and I don't know where I'm going to put that. Pay for it and put it, place it in the house. So, but all right, y'all. Hey, great to be with you. Make sure you like and share and subscribe. If you subscribe on YouTube, especially if we hit a critical mass there, if we hit the right number, there's a time when you can start to monetize things, and that could do wonders for our ministry. There's also Open Arms, Connecting People to Jesus, the book up here, Tales of Nola, Nola's Icelandic Adventure, and Nobody's Nola. I got to get a copy of the coloring book in here, too. They're actually both on sale for Black Friday, so check it out. And I hope to catch up with you sometime soon. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is false.